Hi, this is Mark Kosler, animator, speaking about one of my favorite cartoons, Little Red Walking Hood, directed by Tex Avery. And story was done by Cal Howard, and the animation is credited to Irv Spence, but also in Tex's unit in those days was Virgil Ross, Paul Smith, Cecil Surrey, and Sid Sutherland. The backgrounds were painted by a guy named Johnny Johnson, and in this case he used colored pencil rather than oil or gouache or tempera paint to get his sort of storybook look to it, which is appropriate to the cartoon because, after all, it's based on the tale of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, this cartoon is the ancestor of what Tex did later at MGM with the Red Hot Riding Hood series. Now, you see the old wolf here. He's playing with a pinball machine. The actual first pinball machine was invented in 1931. It was the first coin-operated pinball. The first electric machine wasn't made until 1933. Flippers, which we know today with electric pinball, weren't invented until 1947. So they're kind of making fun of the wolf because he's still using this primitive coin-operated pinball machine. It kind of makes him look like a hick. And here's Little Red Walking Hood walking along, and the automatic wink is kind of clever how the license plate flips over and forms the words hello.
Hello, pretty girl.
Now that's Ted Pierce's voice on the wolf, and Elvia Allman does, this is Irv Spence's scene right here, by the way. Elvia Allman does Little Red Walking Hood's voice, and she's doing a parody, of course, of Katharine Hepburn and all the attitudes, you know, with the fingers placed carefully and sort of walking back and forth. It's all Irv stuff. Irv was a wonderful animator. I knew him very well, and he never worked straight ahead. He always planned out his scenes very carefully, but his drawings are very funny. And this is one of Irv's scenes right here. This is of Egghead, who had premiered a little earlier in another cartoon where he's a Western character called Egghead Rides Again. But he's used as sort of the tie in this one. This song, Gee But You're Swell, was recorded originally in 1937 by a guy named Chick Webb. And the song was sung by Louis Jordan, who did There Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens and all these early bebop and stuff leading up to a rock and roll. But all these lyrics, he's basically doing a talked-through version of Gee But You're Swell.
That's what it takes. A kid, you got looks and class. And I'm telling you, honey, you get the luckiest breaks. And I mean lucky. For what else could it be?
And I think this is probably Virgil Ross's animation here of the wolf.
Big shot like me. On the level, babe, you're swell.
Oh, please.
Now the underscore here is Liebestrom by Franz Liszt, if you listen carefully, hear it. And this is another animator's work. I'm not quite sure who's doing her here. It doesn't have the flexibility of Irv's take on the characters. The other animators kind of went with a very defined center line and didn't really vary the shapes. And here we have the running gag of Egghead again, keep popping up. Gosh, look at those backgrounds. Their beautifulness. So you can see all the colored pencil rendering on the car. It's kind of like a Duesenberg with the side pipes on it. And that's Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet they're using for an underscore there. That song goes back to 1910, very old. Here he's doing a popular radio character of the time from the Al Pierce show, a guy named Elmer Blurt.
The old Grandmaster Homer, hope, 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 hope.
That was a characteristic thing that audiences loved back in those days because they remembered Elmer Blurt from the Al Pierce radio show. He was a door-to-door salesman.
Woo! Wolf, stay away from my door.
That's probably a quote from a popular song, too. Anyway, this is Irv's scene of the wolf trying to pull open the door. Egghead walks right on through. I love that characteristic walk of his. Tex used later on in the Red Hot Riding Hood series, always the wolf crashing through doors and running through the whole house. But here he shows it quite literally. Oh, and here, this little scene Irv did where he smashes into the tree and just runs around with just his feet sticking out of the hat. That's Old King Cole they're playing in the background. That was written by Johnny Mercer for Varsity Show. There's a pinball reference. That's the electric pinball machine, but he's using it on the door. Yeah, I think Irv did that scene too. Look at that beautiful rubbery walk, rubbery run that she's doing.
King's X.
That's a child's game where you're in the safety zone. You say King's X and nobody can tag you, sort of like playing tag.
Yes, but you people Pardon me, just a minute.
Now, this is typical of Tex. He's breaking the fourth wall, stopping all the action so she can put her grocery order in.
A pound of butter.
I think Virgil at Ross animated this scene.
Oh, come on,
Summer
Grandma.
squash, a lemon pie, and a case of gin. Goodbye.
It just starts all over again.
Here we go again.
And Tex has just about got all of his ingredients going in this cartoon. This is Irv's scene where she ducks into the closet really fast. Seems like Irv did, every time Egghead comes on, Irv always animates it. He does a shrug. Irv loved this cartoon so much that he saved all the drawings from his scenes in this, and he let me copy them. I took an animation class from Irv when I first came to California X number of years ago, and he was a wonderful teacher.
Grandma, it's red. Give me the stuff. Come on, give me the stuff.
They're still playing Old King Cole.
Come in. But grandmother, what large up.
Now that song they're playing there is Have You Got Any Castles Again, which Johnny Mercer wrote from Varsity Show. They used a lot of songs from that feature film.
Snozzola you have. I can't hear very good. Come a little close.
It's interesting. Look at the way he's pursed his mouth so that he's trying to look like an old toothless lady, but he's still got teeth behind that pursed lips,
What enormous teeth you possess.
Yeah, well, all the better to eat you with.
Yeah, that's Ted Pierce. Now this is Irv's scene again, where he's trying to beat her up in the corner. Later on, Irv would have timed that, or Tex would have timed that faster, where she says, "Silly way to make a living, don't you think?" She would have just stopped more rapidly, but here they hadn't learned that rapid timing yet.
Let's wait till these people here get seated.
Now here's a device that Tex used a million times, used it over and over again in things like Cinderella Meets Fella and in some of the MGM cartoons, the silhouettes of somebody coming late to the screening,
Hey, Bud,
Egghead walking through again. This is all Irv stuff here.
who the heck are you anyway?
Who, me? I'm the hero in this picture.
I think that's the only voice Mel does in the whole cartoon. So he gives her a big kiss. That's the end of the cartoon. Hope you enjoyed it.